And I've got a bit of a feeling that it's not going to be a classic, and I hope I'm wrong about that one, but I just don't think it'll be a great game. Well then, here we are. So welcome back to another video, guys. We're back for another episode of the Championship Roundup. This weekend in the Championship, it was quite bizarre really. One of the most unpredictable weekends we've had so far this season, and we're here today to round up all the action. Before we do get into anything though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. Over on the OneFootball app, you can go ahead and keep up to date with all the latest ongoings in the Championship. Obviously, we are now heading into the tail end of the season. You can read up on some of the games that we do talk about today in a little bit more detail, and you can keep up to date with your club. Always a handy app to have on you, so like I said, OneFootball link down below. And before we do get into the individual games, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now. So if any of you did get any of your predictions correct this week, then fair play. Like I said, it was such an unpredictable one this week. I didn't get any of mine correct because it was just a bit of a bonkers time really. So fair play to everyone that did get one right. But without any further ado, let's hop in to talk about these games. So starting out with Friday night's game, which I said wasn't going to be a classic, in the end finished Hull City 4, Swansea City 4. How wrong was I proved to be? I mean, my score prediction of a goalless draw was thrown out the window after just 6 minutes after De Silva Lopez gave Hull the lead, him ghosting in at the far post. I thought that despite 8 goals being scored in this one, and we did see some decent attacking play, defensively both teams were absolutely shocking in this one. I don't think the fans of either club would really disagree with it, but 1-1 at half-time, Routledge level things up going into half-time. Then in the second half, this game completely exploded. For Swansea, Freddie Woodman doesn't particularly find himself in a good run of form at the moment. I thought he could have done better with the first goal. The second goal as well, scored by Marcus Madison. It was a nice run from him, driving forward from midfield. He had an original shot outside the box, and the ball was cannoned up in the air, and it seemed like an eternity before it dropped down. There was no real urgency from Swansea to clear the ball though, and that's where they were perhaps lacking someone like Mike van der Horn as a leader at the back to clear it. But Madison's able to get on the end of it, make it 2-1. After that, Norton levels things up from Swansea after a nice set piece routine from the corner. Mike Wilkes then makes it 3 for Hull. Once again, bit of poor defending from Swansea. Brilliant ball in from Daniel Batty, and at the second time of asking, Wilkes gets on the score sheet again. Garrick then makes it 3-3 for Swansea. Then Brewster comes off the bench to get their 4th, and it looks like Swansea are going to go on to win this game. Judge Long that time, I thought could have done better with that one, but Swansea making it 4, but as he usually does, Tom Eaves likes to come up with a clutch moment every now and again for Hull City. He managed to do that, making it 4-4, and what a bonkers game of football we had in the end. To be honest, I thought that both sides were guilty of giving away some really cheap goals in this one actually. Swansea, I think, will be disappointed that they weren't able to close the gap on the top 6, given some of the other sides above them lost this weekend. After being 4-3 down in the 94th minute, I think that Hull fans would take the point in the end from this one, but what a bonkers game we had in the end. How wrong was I? Next up, we then have West Brom 2, Nottingham Forest 2. What a game of football. However, I don't feel as if the referee was the most popular man leaving this ground. Callum Robinson took the lead for West Brom after 37 minutes. Sambasau being caught on the ball by Pereira. Pereira slips the ball into Robinson, and then Robinson with a brilliant finish into the far post makes it 1-0. Robinson, I think, has had a real impact on this West Brom side so far. Really has shown his quality and will be a big player for them in the tail end of the season. Just before half-time, Forest were able to level things up though. It was Amiobi who put the ball across the box. Lewis Grabban was in a prime position to tap it in, but Kyle Bartley slid in front of him and ended up putting the ball into the back of his own net, making it 1-1. Going into the second half, West Brom did have a lot of the play. I thought they were playing quite well in this one actually, and it was another own goal which took the lead. Figueiredo this time, Jake Livermore putting the ball across the box. However, a bit of controversy about this goal as well. Was there a foul in the build-up, and should Jake Livermore have even been on the pitch? Let me know down below. To be honest, it was a bit of a bad challenge in the first half. It was a very high foot, and I think escaped with one on that occasion. Forest fans will also point towards the penalty that they should have had, you know, for handball. If that is in the Premier League, I think it is given for handball with VAR. But like I said, I did think that West Brom were playing fairly well. There were a couple of sloppy moments here and there, but the whole performance I was quite impressed by, until the 91st minute when Matty Cash stepped up with the equaliser for Nottingham Forest with an absolute smashing finish into the top corner. What an absolute revelation Matty Cash has been at fullback this season, but an absolutely thumping finish to make it 2-2. Forest record against the top 6 so far this season has been very impressive, and another unbeaten game in this one. West Brom then thought they'd gone ahead and win it in the 96th minute. Callum Robinson getting his second in the game, but that goal was ruled to be offside with Kyle Bartley letting goal adjudged to be interfering with play, given offside. Then the referee blew his full-time whistle, and what a bonkers game we had in the end. Let me know down below what you guys thought of this one, because it was an absolute rollercoaster. Then we have Birmingham drawing 1-1 with Brentford. Brentford missing the chance to go up to second with Fulham losing this weekend, but an interesting game nonetheless against a very informed Birmingham side. You know, coming into the tail end of the season, it's interesting because I don't think that teams around the top 6 will necessarily want to play each other, but Birmingham at the moment are not a side who I think a lot of teams will fancy playing with the way they're doing at this point in time. They started out really brilliantly. Jude Bellingham almost giving them the lead early on, opened his body up well on the outside of the box, looked to bend it into the far post, but that shot just came off the post. They did take the lead, however, after 13 minutes. A brilliantly worked goal. Gary Gardner with a fantastic run down the left-hand side, puts the ball into the box. Then the link-up play between Hogan and Djukovic, the understanding between each other is fantastic in what little game time they've had together so far this season. But Hogan with a nice little dummy leaves it for Djukovic at the far post. Then he's got a tap in to make it 1-0. Just moments later, though, Brentford are able to equalise. This one coming from a corner kick, brilliantly taken towards the far post, and Ethan Pinnock's able to head down to make it 1-1. After that, and heading into the second half, I think the conditions played a part in this one. Didn't look to be the best at St Andrews, and the game sort of died down a little bit after that. There were chances were quite few and far between. There was a chance here and there. Lee Camp made a couple of good saves. But with Leeds winning this weekend, that means that the gap from Brentford to second is now up to 4 points. Next up, we then had Cardiff 2, Wigan 2. The point doesn't do either side all too many favours, although it does get them each 1 point closer to what they're hoping to achieve come the end of the season. Wigan now 3 points away from safety, and Cardiff 3 points away from the top 6. It was Wigan who took the lead in this one. Keith Moore with a fantastic finish. Wigan catching Cardiff out with the short corner in this one, then just with a flick with the outside of his foot, brilliantly taken goal. But Cardiff were able to level things up just a few minutes later. Their secret weapon in this one being the Will Vokes long throw, and Wigan just couldn't defend him. Like, it sent panic into their defenders whenever the long throw would come in. But after a couple of flick-ons and stuff like that, Murphy got on the end of it to make it 1-1. But Wigan's lead was restored just before half-time. They were awarded a penalty for handball, and Keith Moore once again getting on the score sheet. I think that Keith Moore is going to have to be someone who's going to be crucial to them if they are to survive come the end of the season. Going into the second half, it was once again that long throw which was causing all sorts of trouble for Wigan. Another goal coming from this one, the long throw from Will Vokes. I think it was Marlon Pack who had the shot, that cannoned off Naismith, and it was then 2-2. Actually quite an enjoyable game with quite a few chances in this one. Another long throw which was causing problems. It was Danny Ward who got on the end of it, who just blasted a shot over the crossbar. Really good chance in that one. Cardiff did then go on to get a third goal, but that one was ruled out for a foul on the goalkeeper. Cardiff, I'm sure, will feel a little bit hard done by with that one, but ultimately I don't think that's the worst result in the world for Wigan, given how good Cardiff are at home and the way they're playing at the moment. It leaves them 3 points away from safety, with Stoke losing this weekend. Wigan have got some massive games coming up now, and for Cardiff, still got a lot of the top 6 to play, so I think could have quite the say in what happens in the playoff picture come the end of the year. Then we have Blackburn winning yet again, beating Charlton by 2-0. I've said it for quite a few weeks now. I keep sort of dismissing Blackburn in that race for the top 6 because of all the injuries they've got at the moment. I think that they'll fall away at some point, but they keep winning and they keep proving me wrong, so fair play to them, and the people who are filling in for them are doing a fantastic role at the moment. It was John Buckley who opened the scrum for Blackburn after 29 minutes with the help of a deflection. Stuart Downing setting up that goal and also setting up the second as well from a set piece. Brilliant ball delivered into Adebayo, I think coming off his knee in the end, makes it 2-0 for Blackburn, and it was a brilliant away performance, you have to give it to them. After they had that first goal, they defended really well when they needed to, and it was a really professional performance from them, which leaves them just 3 points off the playoffs now. In terms of Charlton, they do find themselves 5 points off the relegation zone, so we're going to have to continue ticking over from now until the end of the season. Their best chances probably fell in the way of Lyle Taylor. One player in particular for Blackburn who I thought was excellent was Christian Walton. Made some fantastic saves, especially in the second half. One save in particular to deny Cullen getting on the score sheet from outside the box was an absolutely brilliant reflex save. But overall, brilliant result for Blackburn. For Charlton as well, it was good to see the stadium getting a sellout. I think they were charging just £5 for a ticket in that game, which I think is a brilliant incentive to get more people on board with football. But disappointing one from Charlton. Big result for Blackburn. And then we had Derby drawing 1 apiece with Huddersfield. With Huddersfield not the worst point in the world, I actually think that's a decent point on the road for them, especially how midweek went last time against Cardiff. But Derby not an easy side to play with the way that they are playing at the moment. This game really got going in the second half. Tom Lawrence with another absolute belter of a goal. This guy is in the form of his life at the moment. Really is putting in performances week in, week out now. But a corner taken shortly from Wayne Rooney. The ball eventually falls to Lawrence on the edge of the box, and then an absolutely smashing finish into the top corner. And then on the game's in the balance, and it's one of those where if Derby go on to get the second, they probably kill the game off, and they did have the opportunity to go ahead and do that. I think it was Martin Wycombe with a brilliant chance with a diving header. That one was well saved by Lossell though, and Huddersfield just about managed to stay in the game. Eventually, Harry Toffolo does get the Terriers back in the game. Derby probably could have done a bit better defensively for this one. It was Jaden Bogle and Curtis Davis who he just managed to squeeze his way in between, then managed to beat Roos at his near post. Huddersfield then themselves had the chance to go on and win it. Chris Willock racing through on goal, but Roos made a good save to keep it at 1-1, and in the end that was how this one finished. So not the worst result in the world for Huddersfield. And who saw this one coming? Fulham 0, Barnsley 3. To be fair, I did predict that it would be 3-0 in this game, but I was predicting Fulham to go that way. Barnsley, this result came out of absolutely nowhere, but fair play to them. And looking at Barnsley's fixtures, over the next 6 or so, I'd say there's at least 4 of them which are fairly winnable. So if they're going to put a run together on the back of this, it has to be now or never for Barnsley, really. They currently find themselves 6 points off safety, and it still would be quite the ask for them to do so. But what an away performance it was in this one. Coley Woodrow really stole the show for them. Playing in that number 10 role, he was dictating play. And Fulham, they were absolutely abysmal in this game. Marek Rodak, who I've gave so much praise to throughout the season so far, I think he has been a large reason as to why Fulham have been so consistent recently, but he had an absolute nightmare in this one. He gave the penalty away in the first half, fouling Jacob Brown. I don't know what he was trying to do really, just grabbed hold of him instead of the ball. Coley Woodrow then slotted that penalty away, and from then on it just went on to get from bad to worse for Fulham really. And leading into the second half, it was a brilliant ball over the top from Woodrow into Jacob Brown. Rodak came racing off his line trying to close it down. Brown just took the ball past him and then rolled it into the back of the net to make it 2-0. And then Woodrow, after Rodak had given the ball away quite cheaply really, managed to finish in at the near post, making it 3-0 to Barnsley. And it really was an excellent away performance from Barnsley. In terms of Fulham, it is a massive opportunity missed, and looking at the fixtures that they've got coming up as their next 6, they've got Derby, Swansea, Preston, Bristol City, Brentford and Leeds United. None of those games are givens for Fulham at all. It really is quite a tough run. I think that in those 6 games we're really going to see what they and Scott Parker are made of. And so with Fulham losing this weekend, Leeds have managed to put a little bit more breathing space between themselves and third place, beating Bristol City by 1-0. It's not just the result which was big for Leeds in this one, the performance. Leeds are back now, you know, this was a fantastic Leeds United performance in this one. Since Calvin Phillips has been back in the side, I think this just shows how important he is to them. But going forward, I have no idea how Leeds didn't score about 4 goals in this one, because they were absolutely terrific. I mean, the goal itself scored by Luke Ayling, that one was scored at about the 4th attempt of asking or so. You know, they had shots blocked, the ball was being ricocheted all over the box, but eventually it fell to Luke Ayling, and at the 3rd time of asking for him, managed to get the ball into the back of the net. But moving on to the second half, Leeds had an abundance of chances. In the first half, Bamford had one ruled out for offside, but continuing into the second half, Daniel Bentley, what an unbelievable performance from the Bristol City goalkeeper in this one. I mean, he was saving shots left, right and centre for them. Bamford had a terrific chance to get on the score sheet. Harrison hit the crossbar, had a couple of them. Helicosta had some glorious chances, actually took the ball around Daniel Bentley. Bentley then managed to recover, get his hand in there and tip the ball out for a corner. Brilliant goalkeeping from him. But like I said, overall the play, the build-up play from Leeds was terrific. Getting into those dangerous areas, pressing when they're off the ball, everything was fantastic up until the final third when they just couldn't manage to put this game to bed. But the 1 goal was enough for them in the end, and like I said, back to the sort of Leeds that we've come accustomed to really. Then we had Luton beating Middlesbrough, not quite the 3-3 thrilling draw we had at the start of the season, but a massive result for Luton nonetheless, who have picked up back-to-back wins. I believe coming into this game, I think it was 12 losses in a row on the road for them, so to be picking up points away from home, it's been a good week for the bottom 3 this time round. Middlesbrough, I thought, would have been quite disappointed with the way they played, really, to not have a shot on target. They seemingly lacked a bit of creativity and spark in this one. I think the conditions, it was another one where the conditions seemed to have an effect on play, but Ryan Tunnicliffe's goal in the first half being the only goal to separate these two sides. Lualua, always someone who catches my eye when I'm watching Luton play. He seemed to be a bit of a spark for them, looking to make things happen, and Panzu had a couple of speculative efforts for them as well. But ultimately that 1 goal was enough to win it for them in the end. And I've got to say, looking at Luton's next few fixtures, they have got some big games coming up. In the next 4 games, they've got games against Charlton, Stoke and Wigan coming up. So for Luton, it really feels as if it's now or never for them. And if they come through those games with a decent amount of points, we could still be seeing them in the Championship next year. And then we had Millwall coming to Deepdale and beating North End by 1 goal to 0. A frustrating game for Preston, really. I thought we looked a little bit tired in this one. Team selection, Tom Clark playing at right back's been spoken about quite a bit, and a bit of a strange decision from Alex Neil, really. We started out quite brightly, to be honest. We were playing some decent football for the first 10 minutes and probably had enough chances in that 10 minutes to go on and win the game. You know, a decent chance fell to to Daniel Johnson, which he probably should have done better with. David Nugent with the follow-up as well. Tom Barkhuizen had a chance, and Scott Sinclair as well, but it just wasn't quite falling for us. After that 10-minute spell, though, this game was dominated by Millwall, and I have to say I was really taken back by how brilliant Millwall were. Like, I'm not taking anything away from this game. They were absolutely brilliant. So far this season, they probably have been one of the best footballing sides I've seen come to Deepdale. They were playing with that 3-4-3 system, and the best way I can describe their style of play was very similar to Sheffield United with the overlapping centre-backs. It was a back three of Cooper, Pearce and Hutchinson. Pearce in the middle, and throughout the afternoon we just see Cooper and Hutchinson making these overlapping runs into midfield, creating overloads on both flanks for us. And we just couldn't deal with it. Like, they were putting an abundance of crosses into the box, and if their finishing was a little bit sharper and Declan Rudd wasn't so good for North End, Millwall could have completely run away with this game. You know, Preston had got out of jail quite a few times in this one. First off, Declan Rudd was keeping us in it, and then in the second half, Ben Davies had slipped up on the ball. Tom Bradshaw raced their own goal. He was in a 1v1 situation. He then smashed that chance onto the crossbar. I thought that, right, now we might finally wake up. But in the end, it was Millwall who went on to win it. Hutchinson with the goal in the end, that one coming from a set piece. But, I mean, they were more than deserving of all 3 points. They were brilliant, I thought. Preston did have a chance later on to get back into it. Paul Gallagher with a free kick, but Bilkowski saved well. And apart from that, we created very little after that opening 10 minutes. So quite a poor performance from North End in the end, but Millwall were fantastic. Then we saw QPR beating Stoke by 4 goals to 2. Stoke throwing away a 2-goal lead in this one. It's not been a good weekend for them after all the results going on below them with the bottom 3. But like I said, it was Clucas and Campbell taking the lead for Stoke and finding themselves 2-0 up at Loftus Road. Traditionally, with the run that QPR are on at the moment and the way that they can fall apart at times, you were thinking that Stoke would then go on to cruise on for all 3 points, but a brilliant attacking display from QPR in this game. And I have to say, QPR have been a really funny side so far this season because they have scored some of the best goals in the Championship in terms of the build-up play to them and the technique. And the first goal from Hugill, oh my god, brilliantly worked. What an assist from Ryan Manning, in from left back, just drifts into the midfield, takes about 4 or 5 Stoke players out with one simple pass in behind the back line, and then Hugill with the brilliant finish makes it 2-1, and suddenly we've got a game in our hands. Only 4 minutes later, Eze then makes it 2-2. I think that Stoke defensively really were all over the place with this one. Like, QPR were pulling them all over the pitch. I think that especially in terms of the third and second goal that QPR scored for this one, Stoke defenders were quite guilty of being sucked into the ball, and QPR definitely played on that for the second half. Going into half-time at 2-2 though, in the second half QPR took complete control of this one and ultimately finished it off with goals from Asai Samuel and Chet in extra time. But even with QPR getting the 4 goals, they could have had about 5 or 6 or something like that with the quality of chances that they were creating in this one. Stoke really fell apart from being 2-0 up. And like I said, a worrying time for Stoke after this one with some of the injuries that they picked up lately and with seemingly the bottom 3 picking up in form. Not a good weekend for them. And then we had Sheffield Wednesday 0, Reading 3. Sheffield Wednesday, what on earth has happened? On Christmas Day they were sat 3rd in the Championship. They now found themselves 12th, having won only 1 of their last 10 matches, and at Hillsborough they've not scored a goal in 2020. It's been an unbelievable drop off from them. And Wednesday fans, what's been the problem there? Is it Gary Monk? Is it the players? Is it the people above Gary Monk? It's a complete disaster at the moment for Wednesday. And Reading were there to fully take advantage of that poor run of form. They themselves haven't been on a great run recently, but they were more than happy to take advantage of Wednesday's poor defending for this one. Yaku Meite taking the lead. It was Ajaria with a fantastically timed assist in this one. Takes several Wednesday players out of the game. A brilliant dummy from Puskas, and then Meite with the finish. Going into the second half, the red card for Rulahide didn't help. It was a second bookable offence for that one. Quite a silly tackle, really. And from then on, Reading were able to take full control of this one. Puskas with the second goal, sort of the faintest of touches on that one to take that one away from Dawson, and then they wrapped it up with a penalty from Baldock in the 91st minute to grab all 3 goals. Much better from Reading in this one, who have been on a bit of a dodgy run recently. I think the goal for Puskas especially should do him some good, but for Wednesday, what an awful run of events it has been for them lately. But guys, there you have it. There were all the games that did take place this weekend. So in terms of my result of the weekend, I think I'm going to have to give that to Barnsley, beating Fulham by 3-0 to give them a hope of survival come the end of the season. What a fantastic away performance it was from them. And then for my goal of the weekend, some absolute belters scored this time round. I think I'm edging towards Matty Cash, you know, that equaliser at West Brom. Brilliant arrowing finish into the top corner, but he's got some competition because we did have some belters scored. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video of the Championship roundup. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.